2.5, 3-minute songs, you know, like, because we grew up on the Beatles, and the bridges in those songs are very short.
Behind every great frontman stands a great guitarist. Mike Campbell was that shadow for Tom Petty, crafting riffs that defined generations. For over 40 years, Campbell's guitar work provided the backbone to countless hits. His playing was never flashy, never desperate for attention. It was solid, tasteful, and perfectly placed.
And I have Firebirds, but I don't have a white one.
He understood that great guitar work serves the song, not the ego. That philosophy came from somewhere deep.
That's where you really get the voice feel in your playing.
Campbell grew up listening obsessively. He studied records like textbooks, learning what made certain albums timeless. He absorbed the British invasion, the American roots revival, the psychedelic explosion. Every influence got filtered through his hands and emerged as something uniquely his own. These 10 albums were not just favorites. They were blueprints that showed him what a guitar could accomplish when played with purpose and soul. Guitarists like Campbell hear music in layers. They notice the space between chords, the tone choices, the way rhythm and lead interact. And his favorite albums reveal a player who valued melody over madness, craft over chaos. If you love stories about the quiet architects of rock and roll, hit subscribe. Here are the 10 albums that shaped Mike Campbell's approach to the guitar. Let us explore them the way he did, one riff at a time. 10. Roger the Engineer. This album crackled with electricity. Released in 1966, Roger the Engineer captured the Yardbirds at their most adventurous. Jeff Beck was on guitar, pushing boundaries nobody knew existed yet. Campbell heard innovation in every track. The band mixed blues, rock, and experimental sounds into something completely new.
He's got a good vibrato. Jeff Beck's got a wacky vibrato. I think the vibrato really defines a personality at most.
Beck played with aggression and imagination, using feedback and distortion as instruments themselves. Tracks like Over, Under, Sideways, Down and The Nas Are Blue showed Campbell what fearless guitar playing sounded like. Beck did not follow rules. He made the guitar scream, whisper, and explode. His solos were unpredictable but always purposeful. Campbell admired how Beck balanced chaos with control. The album taught him that guitar work could be wild without being sloppy, experimental without losing the song. What made this record essential was its spirit of exploration. The Yardbirds were not afraid to fail in public. They took risks that could have crashed, but instead, they soared. Campbell carried that courage into his own playing. He learned that sometimes the most memorable moments come from trying something nobody expected. 9. Buffalo Springfield. Again. This was American rock finding its voice. Released in 1967, Buffalo Springfield again blended folk, rock, and country into something fresh and honest. Stephen Stills and Neil Young traded guitar parts with a chemistry that felt magical. Campbell studied how two guitarists could work together without competing. Each player had space to breathe, to contribute, to shine without overshadowing the other.
He did all the songs he wrote to my music, he did in his office when I wasn't there. And like I did the music in my office.
Tracks like Mr. Soul and Bluebird featured guitar work that was intricate but never showy. Stills played with precision and power. Young brought rawness and unpredictability. Together they created textures that were rich and deep. Campbell learned from this album that collaboration makes everyone better. That two guitars playing in harmony create something bigger than either could alone. What struck Campbell most was the songwriting. These were not just guitar showcases. They were complete songs with stories, emotions, and purpose. The guitars served those songs perfectly. Campbell would spend his career doing exactly that with Tom Petty, understanding that his role was to make the song better, not to prove how well he could play. 8. Disraeli Gears. This album exploded with color. Released in 1967, Disraeli Gears was psychedelic blues played with virtuoso skill. Eric Clapton's guitar work reached new heights here, combining blues roots with experimental freedom. Campbell was mesmerized by how Clapton could play complex passages that still felt rooted in emotion.
Them our way live at the Fillmore, and it was really a kind of a growing experience for our group.
The technique was impressive, but it never felt cold or mechanical. Tracks like Sunshine of Your Love and Strange Brew became instant classics. Clapton's tone was thick and creamy, his solos melodic and powerful. He played blues phrases through psychedelic filters, creating sounds that were familiar yet strange. Campbell studied how Clapton balanced flash with feeling, showing that virtuosity could serve soul rather than replace it. What made Disraeli Gears important to Campbell was its demonstration of possibility. Clapton showed that a guitarist could be technically brilliant and emotionally deep at the same time, that you did not have to choose between skill and soul. Campbell absorbed that lesson, developing his own playing to be both capable and heartfelt, never sacrificing one for the other. 7. Sweetheart of the Rodeo. This one surprised everyone. Released in 1968, Sweetheart of the Rodeo was the Byrds going full country. Graham Parsons had joined the band and pulled them toward Nashville. For Campbell, this album was a revelation about guitar's versatility. The jangly 12-string gave way to pedal steel and Telecaster twang. It proved rock guitarists could explore any territory if they approached it with respect. Tracks like Hickory Wind and You Ain't Going Nowhere featured guitar work that was simple but beautiful. The playing was clean, melodic, and perfectly suited to the songs. Campbell loved how the guitars supported the vocals without demanding attention. This was not about showing off. It was about serving something bigger, honoring the tradition of country music while bringing a rock sensibility. What Sweetheart of the Rodeo taught Campbell was the value of restraint and exploration. The Byrds were not afraid to leave their comfort zone. They embraced a new style completely. Campbell would later bring country influences into his own work, understanding that great guitarists are not limited by genre. They go wherever the song needs them to go. 6. Let It Bleed. This album dripped with darkness and beauty. Released in 1969, Let It Bleed captured the Stones at their most raw and powerful. Keith Richards' guitar work was loose but locked, sloppy but perfect. Campbell studied how Richards created riffs that sounded simple but were impossible to improve. Every note was exactly where it needed to be, creating grooves that were immortal. Tracks like Gimme Shelter and You Can't Always Get What You Want showed Campbell the power of atmosphere. Richards did not play clean. His guitars were dirty, human, alive with imperfection. But that rawness was the whole point. It gave the music authenticity and danger. Campbell learned that polish can sometimes strip away the soul, that roughness can be a virtue. What made Let It Bleed essential was its attitude. The Stones played like they did not care if you liked it, but somehow that made you love it more. Richards's rhythm guitar was the heartbeat of rock and roll, simple patterns played with swagger and confidence. Campbell absorbed that lesson about rhythm being just as important as lead, maybe more important. 5. After the Gold Rush. This album was all heart. Released in 1970, After the Gold Rush featured Neil Young at his most vulnerable and powerful. His guitar playing was rough around the edges, sometimes barely in tune, but always devastatingly emotional. Campbell admired how Young made imperfection beautiful. His solos were not technically perfect, but they were perfectly honest, expressing feelings words could not capture. Tracks like Southern Man and Only Love Can Break Your Heart featured guitar work that cried and raged. Young's tone was raw and biting. His solos wandered and searched, sometimes finding resolution, sometimes not. Campbell studied how Young played what he felt rather than what was expected. The guitars on this album were extensions of Young's emotions, not displays of skill. 4. Revolver. This was the sound of boundaries dissolving. Released in 1966, Revolver showed the Beatles transforming from a pop band into sonic explorers.
Laugh about, I feel good in a special way.
George Harrison's guitar work evolved dramatically, incorporating Indian influences and studio experimentation. Campbell was fascinated by how Harrison used the guitar in new ways, treating it as one color in a larger palette rather than the main focus. Tracks like Taxman and Your Bird Can Sing featured guitar work that was inventive and melodic. Harrison's solos were compact and purposeful, never wasting a note. His use of effects and backward guitars showed Campbell that the studio itself was an instrument. That creativity mattered more than tradition, that breaking rules could create something timeless. What made Revolver crucial for Campbell was its spirit of innovation. The Beatles were not afraid to experiment, to try techniques nobody had attempted before. Harrison played his role perfectly, contributing exactly what each song needed. Campbell learned that being a great guitarist means knowing when to step forward and when to step back, when to dazzle and when to disappear into the arrangement. 3. Highway 61, Revisited. This album changed everything. Released in 1965, Highway 61 Revisited was Dylan going electric with full force.
Alibis, as you stand to the vacuum of his eyes.
Mike Bloomfield's guitar work on this record was fierce and intelligent, mixing blues fire with rock attitude. Campbell studied how Bloomfield played with urgency and purpose, his solos telling stories as vivid as Dylan's lyrics. The guitar was not background decoration, it was a second voice. The opening track, Like a Rolling Stone, featured one of rock's most iconic guitar parts. Bloomfield's playing was aggressive but tasteful, loud but musical. His tone cut through the mix with authority. Campbell learned from this album that electric guitar could be literary, that rock music could be art without losing its rawness and power. What Highway 61 Revisited proved to Campbell was that guitar and lyrics could work as equals. Bloomfield understood he was playing with a poet, so his guitar became poetry too. Sharp, surprising, meaningful. Campbell would spend his career doing the same with Tom Petty, crafting guitar parts that enhanced the storytelling rather than competing with it. Bloomfield showed him how. 2. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. This album was pure English poetry. Released in 1968, Village Green Preservation Society was the Kinks at their most charming and melancholic. Dave Davies' guitar work was understated and beautiful, serving Ray Davies' nostalgic songs perfectly. Campbell loved how the guitars on this record were gentle but effective, creating atmosphere without demanding attention. It was guitar playing as illustration, painting pictures with sound. Tracks like Picture Book and Do You Remember, Walter featured guitar parts that were simple and melodic. Davies used clean tones and tasteful overdubs to create rich textures. Nothing was aggressive or flashy. Everything supported the mood, the story, the feeling. Campbell studied how less could be more, how restraint could be powerful. 1. Mr. Tambourine Man. This was where it all started for Campbell. Released in 1965, Mr. Tambourine Man invented folk rock with Roger McGuinn's magical 12-string Rickenbacker. That jangly, chiming sound became the foundation of everything Campbell would do. McGuinn took Dylan's words and gave them wings, creating a guitar sound that was bright, hopeful, and completely original. Campbell heard his future in those opening chords. The title track featured guitar work that was revolutionary. McGuinn's 12-string created a wall of shimmering sound, rich with harmonics and overtones. It was not aggressive. It was beautiful. Campbell studied how McGuinn used the guitar to create mood and space, how the jangle became as important as the melody itself. This was guitar as atmosphere, as texture, as essential character. What made Mr. Tambourine Man #1 for Campbell was simple. It showed him what he wanted to do with his life. That Rickenbacker sound became his signature, the foundation of the Heartbreakers style. McGuinn proved that guitar could be both powerful and pretty, that rock could have beauty without losing its edge. Mike Campbell spent 50 years exploring what Roger McGuinn started here, one jangly chord at a time. Mike Campbell never needed to be the loudest guitarist. He just needed to be the right one. These 10 albums taught him that music is about serving something bigger than yourself, about finding your sound and using it to lift others up. Campbell absorbed these lessons and became one of rock's most essential players. Not the flashiest, but the most reliable. Which album showed you what your instrument could do? Share in the comments below. And subscribe for more stories about the players who shaped rock without needing the spotlight. The best guitarists know when to step back. Mike Campbell mastered that art.